So, with the recent release of the EVO Max 4T from Autel, came out this massive controller tablet combination type thing. It's called the Smart Controller version 3, and it is also coming out with the brand new Autel Enterprise App. So anyone that used the Autel Explorer app, I'm pretty sure that's going out the window, and this is what they'll be running on. So in this very simple video, we're going to turn it on, both the drone and the controller, of course. And I'm going to talk you through every part of this controller and all the settings as best I can. I'm sure there'll be something I missed. Please let us know down in the comments. Please remember to subscribe, and let's have a look at the controller. So you're seeing here in live view, and I'll set a timer, how long it takes to come on. A few things about this controller. It lasts for about 2.5 hours if it's on 100% brightness, and 4.5 hours if it's on roughly 50% brightness. It charges using a Type-C at the top here. It also has an HDMI for plugging into TVs and a USB for plugging in a hard drive to get those screen recordings straight out of the controller. So this is the screen that's going to originally load up when you come on to the controller. If you wanted to go back, just swipe up and press that back button, and you'll come to basically the home point of what is this tablet. You've got your gallery, your files, you can even connect to the internet, go through your settings, you can even do telephones, and you've got a Maxi Tools app. It also leaves a great opportunity for third-party apps. So for when it comes to the mapping and anything in between, there should be a few third-party apps that can hopefully help you down the line. You just go into the settings here. You can see this is where you can go through and check everything from your network, internet. Remember to always connect to the internet if you're going to be using any of the mapping or waypoint missions. You've got your display, your battery security. It's all in there, but we're concerned about the main event. So if you just click onto UAV, you'll go straight to the camera. So if you swipe down, you'll see here you have your options for Wi-Fi. If you're wondering how to connect to Wi-Fi from here, you just simply hold it. As you can see, it should already be connected. You've got your Bluetooth, screenshot, aeroplane mode, your brightness, like I said, 4.5 hours if it's on 50%, so I like to keep it about 50%. And we'll just screen record out of interest here. And you can screen record, so you can record audio, and you can show the touches on screen. As you've been seeing here, you have a little white dot for when you screen record, you can see exactly what you pressed. So we'll just start that. And you should just get an indication there, you can hear from that sound. So working from the top left here, you have smooth. This is obviously your speed of the aircraft that can physically be touched to move from standard. And then ludicrous, obviously ludicrous is pretty much speed mode. The avoidance is off. It's going to ask, are you sure about that? We're going to say confirm, but you can do that anyway. I've also set my C buttons, which I'll show you in a second, to change the speed as well, just to save any of the pressing. So working along, you got your GNSS mode, so it just lets you know what's happening there. You have your controller percentage, which is at 55%. The connectivity to your RC, how many satellites you've got, 14, moderate, not too bad. It's going to run pretty well without GPS, this drone, as I've stated in earlier videos. You've got your drone, oh, keep pressing night mode there. You can hear the drone go up a bit when you press night mode. You've got your drone percentage here, your obstacle sensors. If you want to turn them off, you can just press it there. And you can press it and it will come back on automatically. In the top right here, you have your extra settings. We'll go into them in a second. We'll just keep working along. So working down one here, you have your laser rangefinder. Press that. It's not going to work here because the laser rangefinder starts from anything from 5 meters all the way to 1200 meters. So it's not liking that, but there's plenty of videos already on the laser rangefinder. So we'll just turn that. Oh, I accidentally pressed the map there. So we'll just turn that off. You've got your AI recognition. It's not taking up anything now. Let's see if it'll pick me up if I walk over. Oh yeah, you can see it's starting to pick me up a wee bit. It can tell I'm not quite far away enough for it to stay. It's picking up my hand as well. But you can see that's on and that's working. So we'll just turn that off. Then next you've got your waypoints. So if you select that, this is when you can start any waypoint mission. We're doing a whole video on waypoints and mapping missions, so we're not going to go into any detail on this just now. Your missions, this is where you can see your previous missions. upload the same one or import a new one that you've created somewhere else. You've also got your auxiliary light, so turning on landing light, you'll see that comes on, and that's just a nice quick way of turning on the light if it's getting a bit dark, or if you want to light a certain area below the drone. Working across, you've got your screenshot. Obviously you can take a screenshot there. You've got a recording button. You've got brightness, so you can change the brightness of the screen. You can change the brightness of what the camera's putting out from there. Just press the X there. You've got defog if it's foggy. Obviously it's not foggy in here, but it's sort of just adding to the shadows a wee bit to make everything a bit more clearer. Then of course you've got your night mode, and a lot like the waypoints, we're doing a specific video showing off the night mode features and how this drone does when it's pretty dark, so keep an eye out for that other video. You've got more here, and here is when you can go for your album, which we don't need to at the moment. And you've also got a beacon. You just press that, you can add more things to that. So working back over to here, you've got your zoom, and you can switch to your IR, your infrared. So we'll just go back to the zoom for a second. So within the zoom, you can either press on this and you'll get options. So you can jump to focal lengths, 3, 5. I'll show the zoom off here with some other external footage. Obviously in the office, it's not going to be showing anything amazing. But if you go back to 3, you can also zoom in with a scroll here. If you want a more gradual one, always go back to your 3, and then from your 3, you just scroll back. That'll take you back to your wide angle. It's a wide angle until you get to about 3 times, and that's when you'll see it click into the zoom camera. You just saw that there. There's one other way to zoom, which is your top right here. Just bring it up, pushing it down will help you zoom. Pushing it back out, you'll see it jump from cameras there as well. Okay, moving on to your infrared here. You can see that this is where you're getting your infrared information. I'll start with the palettes. You've got your white hot, black hot, iron bow, rainbow, rainbow HC, whatever that means, lava, searing, arctic, graduation, heat detection. It's got 10 palettes. They all work really well in different areas. I'll show some external footage as opposed to office footage here. And what you can also do is if you just draw on the screen, you'll get your box, and you can move that box to wherever you like. You can also maximize that box. And within this box, it will show you your hottest and coldest areas. We're in an office right now, so there's not going to be a lot of difference, but when you're outside looking for someone, and it's possibly in the evening and it's cold, but they're warm, that's going to be really helpful in sort of determining where you want to look for. You've also got your settings here, so you can do manual settings, choose your contrast, your brightness, temperature measurement, you can turn that off or on, and then this is where you can change image enhancement. You can choose your isotherm, so a certain range you want to look for. You can do a custom range, specifically looking for fire. Luckily there's no fire in the office, or a human, or you can just have it off and just leaving it. So you have a temperature alarm as well. So if you put that on, you can decide a certain area of temperature where you might want an alarm to go off. Pretty nifty settings on the infrared here. You can also just go to auto if you don't want to do anything yourself. As you can see, it will change how everything's set up. You can still change specifics in auto. So you can change the range of your temperature from 0 all the way to 550. Press it again. Takes a little while to configure. It will go back to your more normal -20 to 150. So working along here, you've got FFC, that'll need calibration whenever you want to use that. You've also got split screen here. So this is a magnificent feature, obviously. Within the split screen, you still get access to certain things like touching for temperature. And you can obviously zoom in with your infrared. It has a 16 times digital zoom. It's digital, of course, so you're going to be losing quality. You're better to move the drone as opposed to zooming in. But you can still zoom in with your zoom camera here and know what you're looking at in your thermal on the left here. Pretty sophisticated system. You can also go to a 3-way split, access to your map at the same time. If you ever want to jump into any 3 of these, you just click on the specific one you want to jump to. Feel free to go back. You can quickly jump in between them all. just by pressing on those little bottom arrow keys there. So here you have your camera settings. You can choose to have a grid, rule of thirds, center mark, choose to have them all, choose to have none of them. I'll normally go for a center mark. You can have a histogram if you want to make sure if anything's overexposed or underexposed, if you want to check that at all times. I like to keep it fairly neat, so I want a histogram. You can choose your defog settings. You've got a timestamp, longitude, aircraft, serial number. You can format your SD card, format your internal storage. You have 64 gigabytes of internal storage. You can reset your camera, check your camera model. It's all in there. Below there, you've got a quick photo. You've got the option to start recording. She'll let you know when you've started recording. And then you can also go to your gallery quickly through there, and you can see the short clippets that I've just got. Start off with here, you've got a compass pretty much, and this will show you your height you're at in feet, and then your distance in feet as well as your height, speed, and your vertical speed. You've got some more indications of the drone percentage there, the battery life, how many minutes it thinks it's got left. 33 is pretty good for 89%, a 42-minute flight time on the EVO Max 4T. So here you've got your camera angle and where it's panning, at what degree it's panning. So if you were to do a mission and you wanted it to be a specific angle when you put it in later, we'll go through that in another video, but that's where you can see it and go, I want it to be at that angle, so you can figure that out quickly. So we'll go to the top right settings here and quickly talk through them. So you have your classics at the top, your flight classic, you have your return to home altitude, your altitude limit, 394, just below 400 feet, the legal limit here. As you can see, it will let you go up to 2,625 feet. I'd be surprised if you can do that anywhere legally. You can set a distance limit as well. Obviously, we work with visual line of sight here, not a specific distance. With a drone this size, you can see it pretty far and feel pretty good about it. Flight mode, you can choose from here. Your home point settings, whether it returns to aircraft. So you can change at what point the home point is. You have a compass calibration if you ever need to do that. And an IMU calibration, I suggest doing them every now and then. Signal loss option, return to home, hovering, landing. I always like to have it return to home. Here you have your OA settings. So this is basically your obstacle avoidance settings. You can choose to turn it off here. It's going to come up with a caution, we don't want to do that. Then you can choose your braking distance now and your warning distance. So for the braking and warning distance, obviously the braking distance can't go any higher than the warning distance. So if you want to bring out your braking distance, you've got to bring out the warning distance at the same time. You can obviously plug them in. Nice touchpad here. You've got your radar display and obstacle avoidance detection notification sound. So if the notification sound is annoying you, you can just turn that off. You obviously get physical pop-ups and warnings on screen, so you don't always need the sound, and it can get a little aggravating sometimes as it's quite a loud detection sound. So you've got your stick mode. We're obviously sticking with mode 2, your classic, with the left controlling your still speed and the right stick controlling your physical movement. RC calibration, if you're having trouble with the RC, that's where your calibration is. Customize RC buttons, so you have your C1 and C2 buttons here. Right now I have my C1 changing the center so it can go straight to down to 45. You can have it so it turns visual obstacle avoidance off. You can have it so it's map image transmission, and you can obviously have speed mode. So for what I've done is I've done C1 to recenter my gimbal and C2 to change my speed modes, and I like it like that. EXP, so in the EXP you can find out the physical outputs of the drone and the control sticks and sort of how that's happening and muck about with that. I wouldn't maybe change too much of that. It's obviously designed to go in a certain way. Here you can connect to a new aircraft if you ever get controller, and that's obviously the connection settings. Brilliant. So when I was pressing the connect to aircraft there, it wasn't quite working, so I just restarted it and it reconnected. So if that's ever a problem, maybe try that. You've got your image transition mode, HDR smooth, split screen. So you can choose the way I can do, let's see what fit screen looks like. So as you can see there, before it was kind of cutting it off. Now you have it fitting the screen, but you're obviously losing a bit of the width of your composition there. So we'll just put that back and have a look what that looks like. Uniform scale. See, obviously you're getting a more of a wider image. I would personally go for that, but it's all subjective. You've got your battery. This is where you can choose at what point you want a low battery warning and at what point you want critically low battery warning, where it's going to basically say, look, land it now, or I'm going to land it. I find that works well. 15%, if it's close to me, it comes back. It's only lost about 1%. So you can see your battery level, your voltage, your temperature, your discharge times. Working down, you've got your gimbal, so gimbal pitch sensitivity. So if you're really zoomed in and you want a low sensitivity, this is the place to come. You can just turn that down a bit. And so to change the pitch of the gimbal, you work on the left here. So you'll see if we just go out of that, that's nice, slow. And obviously as you zoom in, you're going to want it very gradual tilts. So that's a good thing to remember if you're getting a little frustrated with the sensitivity when you're zooming in. And it always takes you back to whatever one you've selected last in the settings, so it's all very smooth, responsive and quick. A very user-friendly interface is exactly how I describe this. So gimbal calibration, if you need to do that here. Gimbal adjustments, if you want to get really specific with it, but we won't worry about that. And then gimbal parameters reset if there's any problems there. In the more, you've got your unit settings, so what you're working off. Obviously it depends on where you are and what's used mostly. This is the sort of things that we like to use here in the UK. You've got your light settings, so you can put into stealth mode where no lights will be on. I like the lights, and you can turn on your beacon from here, your top light obviously, and then your auxiliary light, you can choose to have that on. That's your bottom light, but obviously like I said, you can do that from there. So we'll just turn that off for now. You also have your visual positioning, helps the aircraft hover when GNS signal is weak. So that's basically going to stop it going into ATI mode. So that is something to keep in mind. So going into about, this is where you'll have all your information about the drone, your serial numbers, about every serial number from your battery, your gimbal, your aircraft, your RC, firmware updates, firmware version, app updates. So make sure to check them before you head out. You can choose your language, English or Chinese. Is there any other options? Apparently not. And there we have it pretty much. So that is everything that you can access right now as of this video coming out. In terms of physical attributes on the controller, it is very minimal. You've got your return to home button, you've got a pause button, obviously your analog sticks, and at the top here. So at the top here, you've got this for changing the pitch of your gimbal. You've got a start filming button at the top left, and in contrast, you've got your picture button at the top right here. Your C1 and C2 customizable buttons. This is where you power on and off the controller, so holding that down. And you've obviously got the top right, that will control your zoom. Here's where you can access all your inputs. You've got your HDMI, your Type-C for charging, and you've got a USB for putting in any hard drives or anything in between. And obviously on the outside of them, you've got your antenna here. So on the back you can see there's no other buttons, it's very simple, and you can also see that I've attached the strap. There is something to stick it on a tripod or anything like that, a little screw top if you wanted to do anything similar. So that was a quick, well not that quick, but as thorough a run through as I could go through this new controller and this new Autel Enterprise app. I hope it was informative, I hope it maybe helped you in some way. And again, let us know if you've got any questions and we'll try and answer them down in the comments. And if not, we'll catch you on the next video. We've got loads of videos on the EVO Max 4T coming out if they're not already out. And I'll catch you on the next one.